What is going on, everyone? I hope you're all doing really good. Today, let's take a look at Florida. Miami, to be more specific. Miami is a city on the Atlantic coast of southern Florida. If you've ever been on a Caribbean cruise, you've probably been to Miami. The Port of Miami is actually known as the cruise capital of the world. Miami and its suburbs are located between the Florida Everglades to the west, with Biscayne Bay and the Atlantic Ocean to the east. The elevation of this area never rises above 40 feet, so there's not a lot of skiing there. And Miami averages around 6 feet above sea level. That's in most neighborhoods, mostly the ones near the coast. The city of Miami is home to almost 500,000 people. When you consider the whole Miami metro area, it's closer to 6.2 million. Miami was the place to move to from the 1950s to the 1970s. In the 1980s through the 2000s, the migration slowed down, and they did have one big year in 2010, a huge year, when the economy picked up and they had a whole bunch of construction. But other than that year, the migration has slowed to about a quarter of what it once was. Don't get me wrong, they still have people moving to Miami. Just those days from the 1950s through the 70s, those were the heydays. But hey, you still might be thinking about giving it a go. So let's see some reasons why you might not want to move to Miami. In my top 10 reasons not to move to Miami. Number 10. Rude people. Whether it's the beach, the weather, or the sun-baked dried out skin, people here are very rude. Everyone is very self-absorbed. It's like the whole city is made up of Kardashians. If you happen to run into someone nice here, it's likely they didn't grow up in Miami. The worst is South Beach. Holy Botox, these people are rude. Do yourself a favor and be a pleasant person. A little bit of positivity and a smile go a long way. What really sucks about this, the rest of Florida is just filled with nice people. Number 9. Cost of living. So this should be no surprise to anyone, but it costs a bunch to live in Miami. I mean, they're on the coast, so that's what coastal cities do. They charge you a bunch to live there. The median home price in Miami is 31% higher than the national average, and rent is about 10% higher. Then you work in the taxes, and the whole thing together gets ugly. The state sales tax in Florida is 6%, then Dade County, there's an extra 1% taxed on, making Miami sales 7%. So anything you buy, you're getting 7%. The only place, well, I'm sure there's other places, New York, but Los Angeles, they're pretty bad too. It doesn't seem like Miami should be that way. Everything else is kind of lower in Florida. I don't know. You kind of got to make that Kardashian money to live in Miami, I guess. Number 8. Drivers and traffic. Some of the worst drivers in the country live in Miami. It seems like nobody uses their blinker, everyone's being cut off. During rush hour, you'll pass at least 5 accidents on your way to anywhere. This and the crazy amount of people on the road will make an 18-mile drive from South Miami to North Miami at least an hour and a half. In my experience, Miami is in the top 5 worst places to drive in the country, and most of the problems are related to people being dicks. Number 7. Construction. Construction in the city is never ending. While some other cities and other states actually experience all 4 seasons, you have a break during the winter from construction. Miami doesn't have that break. There's always some construction going on at any time of the year, any time of the week, almost any time of the day. It doesn't stop. I grew up in Southern California, and it's the same thing. Road construction and normal construction slows down any commute. Nothing worse than racing home to use the restroom and a cement truck is blocking your way. Next thing you know, you're sitting in a construction site porta potty thinking, I knew I shouldn't have washed down that Cinnabon with a Clamato. I'm going to be in here in an hour. Number 6. Parking. Unless you have a garage at your house, parking will be nearly impossible. The overwhelming amount of residents in the city that drive every single day take up almost every single spot. Don't be surprised if you find yourself circling the same block for an hour looking for a spot. Then on top of that, you have to worry about parking meters and parking restrictions. It's a nightmare. If you're not careful, you could end up getting some serious fines or your car towed. Nobody likes to see their BMW hooked up to the back of a tow truck or your smart car being carted away by a guy with a hand truck. Number 5. Weather. Miami's weather, in theory, is amazing. However, once you experience it, it's actually the worst. Winters here are almost non-existent. Temperatures only get down to about 65 degrees, and then in the summer they raise up into the 90s and even into the triple digits for weeks at a time with extreme humidity. Not to mention the pollution index is the worst, being 754% worse than the national average. 754% worse. That's really bad. Now, before you say it, stop typing. Warm weather is great for most people. I get it, but not all of us. I find it hard to think or explain myself properly in the heat. To some people, like myself, triple-digit weather is a freaking nightmare. Number 4, punctuality. If you're the type of person who needs to be at least 5 minutes early to everything, Miami's not the place for you. When it comes to punctuality, Miami is extremely laid back. When you show up on time, most people would consider that late. In Miami, on time is super early. Most people know this that live there, and they don't mind. If you're moving here, just keep this one in mind. Schedules are more of a suggestion in Miami. Number 3, housing. Of course, Miami seems to be the ideal place to live. It's warm, it's by the beach, there's a ton of things to do, and it's close to anything you will ever need. However, since everyone else thinks the same way, the housing prices are horrible. A large 2,000 square foot home will be in the neighborhood of $2,000 to $3,000 per month. And that's the average. It can get so much higher. If you're alone, be prepared to dish out about $1,400 for a studio every month. On top of that, your electric bill is super high compared to most places in the country. Number 2, spring break. Miami is a horrible place to retire or have a family vacation, especially during spring break. The city sees about 16.3 million tourists every year. Now, of the 16.3, when you get to spring break in Miami, it seems like they all showed up that day. They didn't, but it feels that way. While there's a ton of things to do here, it will be hard for this to be a relaxing vacation or a relaxing retirement. On top of that, the beaches are a joke during spring break. Far too crowded, far too many idiots, far too many botched cosmetic surgeries, and far too many people pretending to be famous or about to be. Find someplace else to spend your spring break, especially with your family. And if you're retiring, go up the coast. And number 1, crime. Crime rate in Miami is horrible. There's about 5,000 crimes per 100,000 residents. This gives the city an overall crime rate that's 72% higher than the national average. Way to go, Miami. Some notable criminals there. They got some famous ones. William Calley, he's a war criminal from the Vietnam War. Pablo Escobar, Colombian drug lord. While he's not from Miami, he did frequent the city a lot, and I believe he owned some property there. Miami has been known for crime for many years. The last decade or so haven't been great for Miami's crime stats. Since about 2002, the crime rate had been climbing at a steady pace, and in 2014, it kind of hit its peak with 26 people murdered per 100,000 residents. It's been getting better, and it's been declining since 2014, but it's got a ways to go. Hopefully they'll get it together. Miami in reality is a nice city. The locals are amazing. Trust me on that one. They're good people. It's just for the most part too many tourists. That's what kind of wrecks Miami a lot of the times. And too many out-of-towners and people that just moved there. I don't know. Anyway. Alright, so that's my top 10 reasons not to move to Miami. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Don't forget to hit that like button. Leave me a comment. Tell me what you think I missed. Love to hear it. Maybe I'll make a second video. Don't forget all the links below. Everybody have a great day. Be nice to each other.